Weber-Shandwick's 2019 Civility in America report found that 93% of Americans identify incivility as a problem and 68% consider it a major problem. How can we create more civility in society, our schools, our communities, and our government? Our podcast shows the way to a more civil future by sharing stories of civility in our community. My name is Chinazo Dunze, and I'm an intern with the Governor M. Jodi Rell Center for Public Service at the University of Hartford in Connecticut. In this week's episode, Director of the Rell Center, Dr. Katharine Owens, interviews Lance Goldberg and his students at Farmington High School, one of the inaugural winners of the Governor M. Jodi Rell Center for Public Service at the University of Hartford's annual Civility Awards. This award recognizes the ways that teachers, schools, and school groups can motivate others to positively spread civility, respect, and collaboration in their community. Without further ado, let's get into this week's episode.
Well, thank you so much for being here today and talking with us on the Rell Center podcast. I'd love it if you could each introduce yourselves, and for the students, you could also say what year you are in school.
Hi, my name is Gabby. I'm a senior right now at Farmington High School.
My name is Leanne. I'm a sophomore in Farmington High School.
My name is Lance Goldberg. I'm the faculty advisor for the Political Action Club here at Farmington High School. I also teach AP Government and Sociology.
So I'd love it if you could tell me a little bit more about your project.
So for Political Action Club, just in general, we're a nonpartisan club, and we're kind of like dedicated to helping our community become more involved in politics. So one of the main things we do in our club is we host a debate. So I've been part of the club for 2 years, and both years we hosted this debate. My junior year, we hosted this little debate between, I believe it was Derek Slap, I want to say. And then my senior year, we did another one for CJ Thomas, and we just asked them a few questions we thought that the members of Farmington would think would be kind of helpful to know when deciding on who to vote for. So that's just a little bit about that.
Our debates that we take part in, when we're asking our questions, we make sure that it's like really in a way where we're not, I guess, sort of making like personal questions. We're really just seeking like what each candidate's views are, just so like the town of Farmington really knows which candidates best are like represent their own beliefs.
I love that because, when we see, most of us only see presidential debates or vice presidential debates, and they can often turn into conversations that are not necessarily about the issues. So I really love that you're focusing on that. So what do you think you have learned from the process of hosting these debates?
For me, I learned how to become like a better speaker. I learned how to address these like possible politicians, and I learned how to ask them the types of questions that our community would find informative.
I personally learned kind of that like what you, I guess, see on the news, and when it's like regarding certain parties, that's not necessarily the case when it comes to like more local and town debates. So it was really interesting to just see that different party lines that I may not usually agree with have different stances than what you would see in the media or our presidential debates.
That's so true, especially when you're talking about the local level. I'm often surprised at how not like the national candidates those folks can be. So, not thinking in a partisan way, but just in general, how do you feel about our political system in the United States?
Right now, I think everyone is they view it as very aggressive. And I think right now, a big issue is that people don't want to look at the other side. They don't want to consider other viewpoints. And right now it's so much tension. But I think it's really interesting how on a local level, everyone's so much more civil almost. And everyone's really willing to work with each other. There's not really those personal attacks and like smears you would see on a more like national level. Nishida's also going to be joining us on my computer if that's okay.
That's fine. Tell me who this is and what year they are.
Hi, my name is Nishida. I'm also part of I'm one of the other co-presidents of Political Action Club. And sorry I came a little late. I got caught up in some car business, but I'm here.
Well, it's great to have you. Thank you. So we were just talking kind of like broadly how we felt about the political system in America. And Gabby was pointing out, you know, how angry and sort of combative it can be at the national level, and that she's sort of seen different things at the local level, which I think is really promising. Do you want to, do you or Leanne want to add anything to that? Sort of how the question is, how do you feel about the American political system right now?
So I think that based off of the debates that we've seen, that we've moderated here in Political Action Club, I've definitely seen that at the local level, people are much more willing to compromise, and there's a certain level of compromise and respect that you kind of see here, especially because I think local politics impact us in our daily lives a bit more than sometimes the more national level politics. So it's good to see that at least the stuff that really impacts us in our day-to-day lives is like the parties are getting along with each other. But then on a national level, I think there's just some work to be done in that level of getting along at some points.
Leanne, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I feel that when it's more local, like I guess like the community, the Farmington community, we have more of a chance to kind of speak about issues that really concern us that we're living with. Where like on the national level, it's more so like broad, and I guess it can't be as effective as it would towards our lives, like compared to like presidential debates. Like for our debates, we really like focus on town issues that affect our daily lives.
That's fantastic, because, you know, I think people don't always focus as much on local elections when they really can have a lot more bearing on their everyday lives and sort of their experiences. So it's really great that you're sort of bringing that focus to the local politics. So you talked a little bit about how you feel about our political system in America. How do you think the debate program and the club impacts that?
So I think that the club is really great because we're able to help members of Farmington High School specifically kind of see this. A lot of the seniors are turning 18. They're recently eligible to vote. So I think it's really great because doing it at school, we're able to get the school community much more involved, and everyone becomes more, I guess you could say, a more active participant of it. And other than the debates, also, I believe my junior year, we kind of all worked together to create posters, and we created a video teaching our seniors how to register to vote, which I think is another way we're able to really engage our community. Nishita, do you want to add anything on?
Yeah, well, another thing I really like about this club is that because it's nonpartisan and the whole thing is about teaching or helping the Farmington community become more politically active, particularly as Gabby said or mentioned, our seniors, it kind of allows the students here at FHS to feel as though they're participating in political things and helping out the community without having to be kind of confined to a label as like one of the parties or something like that. So they feel a lot more comfortable here knowing that, oh, we're helping other people get to know their local politicians better, as well as getting to know how to be a civil citizen in our democracy.
That's great. Leanne, do you want to add to that as well?
I agree with everything that they're saying, and like whether it's through like I think we had a chance last year where we would sign people up to be eligible to vote. Our club is like much more effective, and we have an opportunity to engage in politics more.
I think that's so important because you probably have learned in your classes that young people are the least likely to vote compared to other age groups. And so, of course, a lot of people want their political voice to be heard. So how do you feel that this project, the debate program, has been received in your community?
For me personally, I think it's really great because even, for example, I was being interviewed for a scholarship, and one of the people interviewing me said that they saw the debate that I was a part of. So I think it's really great. A lot of the local community tends to tune in and they really engage in it, which I think is really great because in class we learned about how, especially on the local level, voter turnout is very, very low. So I think it's so great that the community just comes around. Everyone, a lot of people watch it, and even like my parents' friends, there's like lots of reach.
Yeah, adding on to what Gabby said, I think there's kind of like a domino effect when us students kind of moderate these debates. Because when we moderate it, then we get our parents into it, then we invite our friends to come watch them, or at least the live stream, and then their parents' parents, and parents' friends, and et cetera, et cetera. And it kind of just spreads out through Farmington. I think that's really good, the amount of outreach that you can get as a student. Especially because they don't always assume that there's going to be a high school student moderating the debate, and then seeing how we perform, kind of makes them feel, encourages them more to be politically active and kind of really tune into the political aspects of Farmington.
What's the best advice that you could give to another club at another high school, for example, that might want to do the same thing, which is you organize and plan and host debates for local candidates in the community? What advice could you give them?
One of the things I was able to do was lay the foundation for this by having politicians into class. I also do the Young Democrats and Young Republicans. And a large piece of this beginning was the politicians trusted me that I am nonpartisan in town, and that they trusted that it was going to be that way when they decided to participate in a political debate. Even though it's local, it's high stakes for the community, it's high stakes for the candidates, and they want to make sure that it's going to be a trustworthy event. Unfortunately, we see sometimes when on national debates, when the people running debates just sometimes drop the ball, and they make mistakes. And that's been part of this great thing that we've done here, is that I've sort of opened the door by having these relationships, but then the students, and they'll talk about what they recommend, so the students have really done the work in the room to make sure the debates themselves are successful.
I would say definitely making sure the members of your club are engaged. We only have 5 members that are like actively come for every single meeting, and we're like a small club, but we're, I guess you could say, mighty. So for me, I would say make sure your members are engaged, make sure they're interested in what they're doing, and yeah, small but mighty.
Yeah, so like Mr. Goldberg said, he's been really helpful in this whole thing. So if you could get an advisor or a teacher who can help arrange that, obviously if there are students who have those connections, it could be more possible, but getting that trust from a teacher or advisor really, really helps. And then as Gabby said, having a small club, but that's really connected with each other and
Close knit,
and we can understand that there's this meeting at this day, we're going to show up, we're going to help. Everyone's working pretty much evenly, though there are titles. It's not like one person's, there's no like leader in terms of the students here. So if they can get that type of teamwork together, that'd be really good.
Going off of everyone else, I just think that it's really important when you're starting a club just to make sure that everybody is involved. Just because I guess you could say that we like have more perspectives on certain topics, especially because it is about politics. So we get more like questions that another wouldn't necessarily think of.
I love all of that. I can really see how the trust and the groundwork makes a huge difference. We have such a culture that sort of rewards gotcha, behavior, especially through social media. So people knowing that they can be treated fairly and that you're honestly there to understand them and their perspectives on different political issues. I mean, I can see how that would be really attractive to politicians who actually just want people to know what they think about, hardworking politicians who just want people to know what they think about the issues. So that's great.
And it's been a process, and not necessarily with this group, but over the years, when you write questions, sometimes the bias that's implicit in it based on who's writing it may not be clear to that particular person or to other folks. So by having this kind of team approach to writing questions, eliminating the bias, eliminating any kind of what seems like a gotcha question, and just making it really basic questions about topics that are important in the community, but the politicians don't feel like they're on the defensive by having to answer a question. Something else that we don't do is we don't do follow-up questions. We do allow for like you might say, this politician speaks, the other one speaks, the other politician, they go back and forth, but we don't ask the follow-up question because that's also problematic. And if it's something that really needs to be followed up, they do it as needed. So what we find on national debates is sometimes it's very selective how that happens. Maybe the bias of the moderator comes out with how the follow-up questions are done. So we just eliminate that and just give more time for the politicians to say what they want to say.
I like that. I like that a lot. What do you wish for the future of politics in America?
I would hope that the community becomes more tolerant. It's hard to solve issues when we can't work as a team, and I think really eliminating all the tension. Like for me personally, in this club, I don't know what parties my fellow club members or what Mr. Goldberg is. Everyone is just, we're all working together and we're all trying to work towards one cause, and that's what I would hope for the future of America, that politicians would really be able to kind of leave their party lines and to really work together to try to create a solution to some of our problems.
Mm-hmm. Completely adding on to what Gabby said, I think that right now particularly is a pretty politically intense time period, and I would just really hope that as we continue this year and for more years to come, that we're able to actually find solutions to the causes and issues that various people bring up, and so that it's less of just one party saying something, another party saying something, and we're not able to actually get to a solid answer to what's going on, and for actions to actually be taken to help out the various communities that are asking for them.
I would really hope that rather than, I feel like today in politics, there's not as much as a consensus due to the fact that a lot of major party leaders and their community would hope to follow within their party lines. And I would hope that within the future, lawmakers and other politicians would just vote for what they believe should happen rather than just, I guess you could say, dedicate themselves to what their party would expect from them.
Mr. Goldberg, do you have a dream for the future of American politics?
I know this podcast is going to go up, but today is the day after or so after Uvalde, the shooting in Texas. And my hope is that politicians can come together and do what's best for the safety of all of us, especially working schools. And some of this partisanship and polarization can be eliminated. I know it's what we model in this club. I know it tends to be modeled on a local level, and I wish it was done more on the national level for some of these bigger issues. That's my hope.
Thank you so much. For all of these reasons, this is why we selected you as our winner for the Rell Civility and Politics Award, the annual award, our first annual award. And we're so proud of the work you are doing, and so happy to be able to honor you for the contributions you're making. I do think that small things can grow into, and we can change our culture in that way. And I just appreciate all of you and all of your hard work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kat. Thanks to our students.
I appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Thank you for joining us for the Rell Center podcast. Thanks also to Lon Seidman for technical support. Our music is by Tim Taj from Civility.